Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second part of the timing script tutorial series. So, in this part, actually, let me start with where we left off last time. So, last time we left off with a functioning timing system that was able to record our laps, as I should be able to demonstrate right here. Except that it doesn't work. Why? Because it's attempting. I'm pretty sure I left the script working and everything last time out. Well, this is a good way to start the stream, that's for sure. But we already have our first error. If you're on mobile, unfortunately, you probably won't be able to read this, but I can read it. So we see an error in the timing script at line 106. So let's check it out. So if you remember from last time, I moved the timing script to here, and now let's have a look at line 106. I know what's going on. It's this happens because our character doesn't exist yet. Our script loaded before our character loaded, so it didn't find a player character, and you can't execute the wait for child function before player.character exists. So what we're going to have to do is I am going to add a while loop. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what I am doing. So I'm going to add a line here to prevent this from faulting. I'm going to add a loop here that basically says while the player.character doesn't exist, it's going to wait. And when player.character comes into existence, then we move on here. So that should prevent our error from happening. Let's test again to show you what exactly is going on. So now you can see our timer system is working. Don't have a car, but our character running really fast will do for this tutorial. As you can see, we made a live timer that counts upwards on the fly. Now you see we did a lap. We also programmed the best lap feature that updates whenever we beat our lap time, and we have a last lap time count as well. And also we started off last tutorial with just making it a stopwatch feature, but this time I want to change it a little bit. Actually, no, that's not what I was going to say. Oh yeah, and as you can see, meanwhile here it demonstrates that last time is slower than our best lap time. So best lap time doesn't update because the last lap time was slower. Okay, so now let's move on to what is going to happen in this part of this series. In this part of the series, I want to make a server script that communicates with whom the local scripts can communicate with, and this we can use to share lap times with other people who are in the server. So let's start in our script here. I'm going to server. Let's rename it to time server script. All right. And then we want to start things off with declaring a couple of variables. So what do we want to do here? We want to keep track of everyone's time. We want to know how fast everyone goes. And we want to store that in a table. So we want so I'm going to show you the times it's going to be empty, but for this tutorial I'm going to show you what I want times table to look like. So it's going to consist of a couple of these more tables, and those tables are going to contain a name to start things off, and the name would be a player, and we want to keep track of someone's last lap time, and that could be a number, and we want to keep track of that person's best lap time. So that's what our table is going to look like, and then a second table would look something like, let's see, player 2, and then last lap time would be 0, or would be changed to whatever someone's last lap actually was. But yeah, that's the idea of time. So I'm going to leave this comment here to kind of give you an idea what I'm going to do. And what we want to do now is I want, when I set a lap time, which happens when we hit the starting line, which happens when stop timer is being triggered, and I don't think we are using toggle timer anymore, so we should be able to safely remove this, or at least comment it out. So I'm going to make this only part 1, or actually make the front part 1, because we're not going to need this section anymore. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add 2 dash lines, then square brackets up here, and then put closing square brackets here, 2 of them. And that's how you can, by the way, comment multiple lines of code at once on Roblox in Roblox Studio with the Lua scripting language. Anyway, now we need to go to our stop timer system, and what we need to do is to send data to the server. Well, we can't do that yet because well, actually, yeah, no, we can't do it yet because we need function events to do so. And what are or function events? Remote events, I mean. And you may be wondering, what are local? I mean, server remote events. I'm sorry, I'm getting fussed. I'm messing things up here. What are remote events? So remote events are events that you kind of bridges between the local player and the server, between the client and the server, and it comes in handy when you have filtering enabled, which is recommended for every game, by the way. I'm going to briefly explain what filtering enabled is. So what filtering enabled does and why it's relevant to this is it prevents local scripts being able to directly affect things in the server. And this is really useful to block exploiters from inserting random parts or changing the skybox and everything. You can find more info on that on the Roblox dev page. They have a whole page that explains the use of filtering enabled. But the one downside that comes with filtering enabled is that you can't just say from the, or you can't say I want to change this and this in workspace. That's not going to work. What you have to do is you have to tell the server to change lap times. You need to you need to directly communicate with your server scripts, or you need to communicate through a specific tunnel to execute a certain command, and that's what we're going to do here. So what I want to do is to call the replicated storage, which is where you can insert or create your remote events. So we're first going to refer to the replicate storage to the get service function, which is a built-in function by Roblox. Then we're going to write replicate storage. Then I want to create a new event, and I'm going to call it the set lap time event. So that would be replicated storage dot in instance dot new. No. I almost forgot how to do instance.new, which is a pretty basic function, but no, you need to do it like this. So it's instant.new, which means insert a new object, and that object would be set lap time event. No, actually, no, you don't. That's the name of our remote event. We need to call it remote. We need to insert a remote event. It's not like you can insert a start part. You have to first call the part, and then I am going to say that I want this new remote event to be in replicate storage. And then what I want to do is I actually want to name this part. So set lap time event dot name equals set lap time. Anyway, moving on. Where were we? Got distracted by the chat. Someone saying something inappropriate. Sort of a compliment. I'm not going to say it on stream, but it was kind of inappropriate. But anyway, moving on. So where were we? Yes. So we now create our remote event, our little tunnel, and I want to create a function here that we call set lap time. And we will need to put some parameters in there, but we don't have them yet. Well, actually, I can already declare the parameters. I'm going to explain it a bit later, but the first parameter is going to be the player who just set a lap time. And then I want it to say lap time. And I actually don't want to say fastest lap yet, because I can also give the server heads up that if it's a fast lap, so the server doesn't have to calculate things again. But let's not do that. I don't think that's a particularly great idea. And I'm going to leave this blank for a little bit longer. I'm going to write here, so after the player has said, hey, I just set this lap time, then the server should do something, but I'm going to leave this empty for now. And now we are going to move back. We need to remember that we want to use the replicate storage. We will also want to refer to that in here. So replicate storage is game that get servers replicate storage. Then I want to find the remote event we just created. And what we're going to do, we do that by writing replicate storage and then wait for child. So, and wait for child set lap time event, but then with the capital S. So we are looking for this right here. Okay, and what I am now going to do is I am going to the stop timer section. And this is where the send data to server thing comes in. What I want to do is I want to send something to the server, and you can do that by writing set lap time event right here, and then fire server. You could leave it at that, you could leave it blank, but what's fun about this bit is you can also not only say to the server, hey, do this, or you got a message, but you can also add some stuff. You can send something with that signal you sent to the server. So in that case, I want to send the server the fancy new lap time we just set. So we want to let the server know that we set a new lap. And that's what we are going to do. And that's the client side of things done, the local script side. Now we go back here. And now I want our server script to detect when something has come in from our little tunnel, which is the set lap time event, which is the remote event we got. And so we do that by writing set lap time event dot on server event. Actually on server event, so when we receive something from the client, then we want to execute the set lap time event. And when you connect a function to an on server event, then what will happen is that it is going to take over the parameters that we got over here. But wait, you may notice there's two parameters here. What's up with that? Well, what this thing does is when you connect a function with the onServer event, it adds one extra argument in front, which is the player who sends the data. So that means we know who sent it and we know the lap time, and that should get us pretty far. So what I want to do now is I want to add our new lap time to our times table. And little spoiler alert, I want to later use the times table to display our time to other players. We'll get to that later. But first, let's get writing. So what I want to do is I want to first check actually if I'm going to do this a little bit differently than what I first had in mind. Well, it kind of has to do with sorting to an extent. Because what I was first going to do, you have two types of tables. Actually, you have the type of table where you just write stuff here, more stuff. You have this kind of table, which you can find by going 1, 2, 3. But what I actually want to do is, or what you also could do is you could do give every item in the table a name, but that means you can't it won't be sorted. You won't be able to sort such a list, and it is useful to sort a list like this to see who's got the fastest lap. So I'm going to go with this approach, with the index approach. So I'm not going to give every new table we add a specific name. We're just going to insert it in the right place, and that's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we first have to look if we already set the time, if our name is already on the times board. And what we have to do then is we're going to have to make a little bit more of a complex check. Let's actually do if time exists player, and then I want to create a new function called function time exists player. And what we want to do in here is check if our player is already here. So that means, and that's the disadvantage with this method, is that if we were using a table where you could look up by name, you could just simply write return times and then player.name. We could simply do that and we would be done, because it would be looking for a table with that is known as player name equals, and then stuff in here, basically. It would look something like that, but because we don't have that luxury, we can't do it this way. So what I want to do is I want to change it. So what I have to do now is I have to look through, search through every single item we've got in here. We're going to assume we won't end up having too many of those. Actually, let's do it a little bit differently, which I had in mind before, but for some reason it snapped me. What I'm going to do actually is when a player gets added, I want to actually, we can remove this, I would actually then add someone's time and not once someone actually sets the time. I think that would make more sense. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write, what's it called? I'm going to write times, and then times plus 1, which means this basically means add the length of the existing length of times, which in our default case, if we don't have any players yet, would be 0. And when someone joins, we'll have one item in the table, and we want to put it at location 1. So that means we're going to add a new time, and I'm going to give it the name, which is the player name. We want to add a last time, which is going to be 0 in this case, which will be our default lap time. And best lap time would also be 0. So basically this means create a table for the new player. And to also want to, of course, have this feature once a player leaves the game, we want to remove that time. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to write, there we go. Okay, you know what? I need to prepare these themes a bit better perhaps, because with removing, the problem now is I can't look for I have to run through every single name, and that's where things get messy. So actually what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my approach, and I am going to do the approach I mentioned earlier, which is the player name thing, which is easier for detecting someone's name. It's a lot easier to work with in this case. And what we want to do when the player leaves is once the player's gone, we want to remove that player from our list. This is much better. Okay, let's go back to our set lap time event. So when someone sets a lap time, we want to go to times and then player.name, and then we want to refer to our last time, and the last time would become our lap time. And to also want to check if it's a new personal best for us. So if times player dot name best time is higher than lap time, or if our current best lap time happens to be 0, which means we don't have a best lap time, then our new best lap time would be our new lap time. There we go. And then I want to finally add a print function. This is for testing purposes, to show you that this thing does work. I'm going to write a little text. I'm going to add 2 dots, which connects the player name, which is a string, which is what you would normally write between 2 double quotes. And I want to write has just set a... And then of course I can't just... I can do our trick from earlier again, our string format thing. Let's do this. String format and then lap time. Then now let's leave out the exclamation mark at the end. And let's also, now let's not check that exactly, let's just leave it like this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit play, and we're going to keep an eye out on the output down here. So I'm now going to run to a quick lap, and then you'll soon see, once we look down in our output, you see we got a print here. It shows you Wesley141 has just set 810913, and it shows, if you look really closely, it's really hard to see, but this you see all those other things we were printing, what we were already printing from the local script. I have a blue line in front, and this one has a green line in front, and the green line means that it is something that's being printed from the server. So there we've got confirmation that this section does happen. But now, what do we want to do now is I want to convert that information to something we can actually see, or more exactly, what a player can see. So what I am going to do now is I am going to insert a new part inside our model, and you can probably take a guess what this part is going to be. It's going to be a racing board on which we'll be able to see our fastest lap times. And if you are familiar with the with my timing script, you of course would know what this is. So let's make it dark blue. Let's make it glass. You know what's coming now. Okay, let's do this. Actually, I don't need those. I do kind of need those, but let's ungroup them for now. Those parts don't really matter. They're not a problem. Anyway, now what I want to do is I want to insert a Surface Gui, which is a GUI that can be displayed on a single part, and I want to know where I can find that GUI. Let's make sure this thing is anchored as well, so it doesn't fall, so it can't move. I'm not sure where our Surface GUI is. Let's call it timing GUI. Not to be confused with timer GUI. Of course, that needs to be insert our part, and we're going to name our part board. And insert inside our timing GUI, I want a scrolling frame. I'm not sure where our frame is. It is on the other side. Let's change it. So, or actually, let's just rotate our part. So now we can see our scrolling frame right here. Okay, what now? I'm going to rename our scrolling frame to lap times. This is going to show us an overview of all our lap times we'll eventually do. Let's do pixels per stud. Let's do 10, or this is a little bit too big. 25, that's good. Because we want to be able to display text on this without causing too many issues. Let's change the color of our scrolling thingy. Actually, let's remove this here and change the color of this to this. Then let's resize it to not cover everything. Let's see what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the size 0.8. Position 0.1. Then I want this to be 100 from the top. I want this to be minus 200. There we go. And actually we can make this slightly visible, I guess. Here we've got our little screen, and I want to show a time on here as well. So I'm going to insert a text label. I'm going to call it temp, short for template. And I want to make this thing invisible. I want it to cover... Actually, I don't want this to be text. I want this text label. I want this to be another frame. So let's call it temp. Let's make it invisible, or at least make the background invisible. Let's make it cover everything, and let's make the size itself 50. That's good. And position can be 0. That's not a concern. And what do we want inside our template? This is how one of our time display is going to look like. Let's make this 10, and let's make this 0.5. We want to show everyone our name, our player's name. Of course, we want to know who set a lap time. So let's do the Gotham font. I like the font. So, okay. 32, is that good? Yes, it is. Then I'm going to move it to the left. To 36. 36, yeah, there we go. Can I write a really stupid long username? It doesn't quite fit. Let's make it 32 because some people really like having long usernames, and let's turn on clip descendants so that if a name becomes even more stupidly long, then it gets cut off our screen. Let's make this 0.6 actually, and this is going to be the player name label. Then I want to copy this. I want to move this to 0.6. Move 0. Actually, let's make this -20 so I have a little bit more room to work with. Let's make this 0.2. That's a little bit too short. Let's make it 0.25. And let's make this 0.5. Actually, looking back, yes, it does mean that our names can't be super long. Let's make it a bit smaller. Let's make this a little bit smaller as well. 28. That's good. Better. Let's make this font. Let's change the font of this. That's fine. Let's write 000. Or actually, more accurately, 0.000 because we haven't done the minute distinction yet. Let's call it last lap. This particular one, I want to change the size to 5 and then -30. I want to duplicate this. I want to put this at. Wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? I want this to be shifted to the left, actually. 5. Let's make this only 10. Then duplicate that. Make it. Place this one 0.7. Let's move it a little bit further here. There we go. And this is going to be our fastest lap. So the second lap time. Let's make it bold. Bolder at least. To indicate this is our is a semi-bold. Yeah, there we go. That's fine. I'm going to make this, I'm going to change the color for one of them. Let's make this actually greenish to indicate that this is our fastest lap. And the second one, let's make it yellow to indicate that this is our last lap, to give it that sort of distinction. So there we go. We've got a stupidly long username. We've got a last lap time. I've got a best lap time, and I need to make sure to rename this as well. Best lap. Okay, and now here's something we're going to do now. I am going to make this invisible. Ooh, scary. But don't worry, we are going to have use for this frame, and you will see in a moment. What I want to do now is I want to display our lap times. And we can call this function quite frequently. Every time we want to update our public board, I want to call this function. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to write for every time we got in our times table, which is what this line means, for every item we've got inside our times table, I want to create a new frame. I want to duplicate the existing template frame. Actually, let's make a quick reference to our board. So local board equals script dot parent dot board local lap times frame equals board dot timing GUI dot lap times, and then frame equals instance dot new, no, not instance dot new, times frame dot temp dot clone. So we want to clone this thing, and we want to insert it in our times frame again. And we want to make it visible. But we it goes through. But before we do that, I want, actually let's make this a thing as well. I'm going to quickly explain what this means. So this is an alternative version of a for loop that you can do in this programming language. This first number is the how many time you've gone through this. So this is by default going to be 1, and then it's every time we run this again, it's going to be 2, 3, 4. You'll see in a moment what I mean. This is our item. This would be something like this. And this, of course, refers to our times table up here. So what I now want to do is I want to take our frame and I want it to display our time. And that's what we're going to do. Meanwhile, I'm going to yoink a function from here. I'm probably going to optimize that a bit later. I'm not duplicating functions is often a pretty bad practice, but just bear with me for now. And let's change this. Where was our printing thing? I removed it. Okay, cool. But we're going to need this in a moment. Then we want to select our player name, and we want to change the text of the player name to our item, and then item 1. Actually, let's still include the name equals player.name. Let's keep the name in here to be able to refer to our name for easy reference. Then I want to write the last lap, which would be item last lap, except that we're going to wrap it around a function we made in part 1, which converts our the last lap, which is a number with a lot of dots, with a lot of numbers behind the dot by default, to something we can actually properly read. Then I want to do the same thing for the best lap. So best lap.text, remember here is our best lap. Best lap text equals number 2 time item, and then best lap. There we go. And then finally what we need to do is determine the position of our frame, because every time someone sets a new lap time, I want those frames to be stacked under each other, not on top of each other. So what I want to do is I want to write position equals udim2.new, which is the coordinate system that frames use here. And then I want the position to be 0, 0, 0, and then 50 times position minus 1, and then make sure to put position minus 1 between brackets. So the guy in P1 is going to show up here. Well, our first time that pops up on top, then the second one's going to appear below, then below and below and below there. I'm going to show that to you in a moment as well, hopefully, if I can do it on stream, because I'm probably going to disable monitor then for a brief moment when I start up a private server with 2 local players. Anyway, first things first, I think we're done. All we need to do is make sure display lap times is being called somewhere. And I'm going to call this on the set lap time. So every time someone sets a lap, we're going to call this function right here. So let's actually move our board so we can actually see our lap time after we cross the line. So let's start right here. Don't I hope I didn't make any mistakes. I probably have. I don't see a name yet because it. Oh yeah, because I also want to call the lap time thing, and also forgot to do one more thing. But okay, we'll have an error anyway. Number expected got nil. Got nothing. Okay, cool. What line are we talking about? 38, I assume? 14, okay. Number is non-existent. Yeah, our item is non-existent, so, which means... Yeah, it's last time, not last lap. So we need to change this to last time and best time. There we go. And what I also want to do before I do any demolishing, I want to basically reset the display of the timer, and I want to destroy anything that already existed in that time, except for the template thing, of course, because that thing's cool and we need that frame to duplicate it as a reference. So what I want to do is times frame get children, so get everything that's inside times frame, and if item.name is not template, so if you're not the template, then you will disappear, like so. It will remove. Is this a recreation of your timer? Sort of, but this one works. This one's a bit different. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be a bit different, and also going to be improvising a little bit as we go. So it has some similarities for sure with the existing timer, but it's going to have some key differences. So now we cross the line and exactly nothing happens, and that's because we tried to alphabetic on string and number. What's going on there? Line 34. A string and a number. Ah, I see. This is actually, this means I didn't know that, because I don't use that function too often. This actually, because we are using a table that uses names instead of numbers, what happens is it takes, instead of a number, it takes a name. So we want to change this to name, and this we have to find something different for it. Let's remove, let's call this, let's keep the position name, why not? And I want to change this to name, because we don't need anything else anymore. Okay, what I want to do now is I want to come up with position equals 0. And then every time this thing is run to, position is going to be updated. It's going to add one number, and that's how it recreate the position effects that I previously wanted to do here. Okay. And also what I want to do is I want this thing to be called every time someone joins the game and every time someone leaves the game, like so. So once we join the game, we should see that our name on the board already, and if you look over there, our name is on the board. So let's do a quick lap of this track, and then let's have a closer look at the board once we complete that lap, shall we? Okay. We did a lap. And yeah. Our time disappeared. No, it didn't. It showed two different times at once. Why is that? And I know why, because what happens is we clone the template thing, but we don't change its name, so that means this one doesn't get deleted. So what I want to do instead, and we go back in here, it's something I forgot, is I want to change the name of the frame to our player name as well, so it doesn't confuse it with the existing template. Will this timer be available to use? Yes, after every episode of this little series, I'm going to update the existing model. There's already a model in the description, but that one is from part 1. And I will update it again after this tutorial as well. But meanwhile, I did a lab, and as you can see, it is showing the correct times and my name in front of it. Beautiful! Now let's quickly do another lap. It's going to be much slower than our first lap, but that will show you that, yeah, there we go. This is our last lap. This is our fastest lap. Of course we can scroll down, but there's nothing else to see. And, yeah, there we go. That's our fastest lap and our last lap, as you can see here. And meanwhile, our timer is still running here. If you are mobile, I'm not sure if you can see this. I can try to get a bit closer. You should be able to tell that. Here's my name. Here's a time. Here's another time. There we go. Cool. Yeah. Now I want to move on to changing the time display so it can display in minutes as well, which it can't right now. I'm going to show you in a second what I mean, but I'm going to explain along the way. But what's going to happen, I'm going to wait until we are over a minute. You'll also see that happen over here. Can you put game.workspace clear out children in the script? I am not sure. I don't think that exists. I can actually check for you. Does that command exist? Oh yeah, it exists. Cool. I stand corrected, but meanwhile, as you can see here, it should show you 1 minute right now. Maybe it's fine for this timer here because it looks better. But I want to show it that I want to say it is a 1:11 and not a 71 second lap, and we want to change that, and I'm going to change that shortly. First, what I want to do, because that's a really good one. I feel a bit stupid for not knowing that. Let's remove this. Wait, no, I can't just do. Can I? I don't think I can make any exceptions. Clear or children, it does exist, but the problem is with if I were to use it, it would delete our template thing as well, and that means we can't clone it for any future users anymore. So that's not going to work. So we're going to have to keep this here. So this little thing, it prevents us from cleaning up this code, which in general isn't a big deal. But now let's move on to our number 2 time thingy. And what I want to do is I want to... This is fine. This is fine. But I want to change it. Local mint equals number divided by 60, and then let's put a math.floor in front of it. So if we were to set a lap time under a minute, it will say, for example, 50. This number would be what's 5 divided by 6? I know something that's lower than 1, between 0 and 1. So that would be rounded down to 0. So minutes would be 0 in that case. And otherwise, minutes would be, let's put it here by the way, and then local second equals number minus mins times 60, and then let's do seconds here. Okay, as I said before, this model will be available after this tutorial, and I'm going to update it every time I do a new stream. Anyway, so right now I made a minutes variable, which is going to extract the amount of minutes from our seconds number, because number, it is in seconds effectively. Then with seconds, I want to take what we have and then extract the minutes from it. So if we have a lap time of 1 minute 30, aka 90 seconds, I first get this will return 1 because 90 or 90 divided by 60 is a number between 1 and 2. It's roughly, yeah, it's 1.5. It's literally 1.5. Nice maths. But this is going to be 1. And this is going to be 90 minus, so let me write this down, 90 minus 1 times 60, and that would be 30. So that means we have 1 minute and 30 seconds right here, and this thing will take care of the decimals. And now what I want to do is I want to quickly modify the output, and so like this. Output equals mins, and then out the double dot, the colon. So, yeah, it's called the colon. Nice English. And then output and out. I can't type. Okay, cool. So what's going to happen now? This is going to be automatically converted to a string. Thanks to the leniency of this programming language. This is going to add a colon, and this is going to add the rest of the thing. And let's actually copy this, or actually I'm going to cut this. I'm going to copy this first. I'm going to add a new script. Module script, and then module function module, and if you let's insert it in this little script, and then we're going to call this script from our timer script, from our server script as well. What a module script is, it's basically a script that you can where you can take code from other scripts, which is really useful if you want to avoid copy and pasting the time. It keeps things easier, and that means if you want to change this in the future, you won't have to edit it here and here as well, which is very convenient for us. So let's add a code here that will actually rename this to time converter. Local converter equals workspace dot time converter. Actually, we have to put require here to get basically not quite the code. Yeah, basically get the code from time converter. And what I can do now is, where was I previously using the number to time function, I'm going to put it back here, function number to time, because it's going to be easier to write in general. And then number return converter dot number to time number, and we are going to do the same here. And of course we need to refer to the converter from our local script as well, because right now the local script is now converter. What is that? Well, it is a module script which we're going to refer to right now. So let's hit play again. And let's see what happens now. Division on nil and number. Oh, there we go again. Straight away, we have an issue. We run into a new problem. It's on line 5 of it, actually. Apparently, it appears that our number doesn't exist. Number to time. Let me look something up quickly. One sec. Because I believe the module scripts, parameters work a little bit differently. It's a bit weird and confusing, but apparently when you call a module script, you have to add something before you have to pass through variables. I think the first value can be whatever you want. Let's do nil. Let's do true. And if I were to test now, I think it should work now. Will it? Will it work? I think so. Let's actually no, it doesn't. Didn't, because nothing's happening. Division on nil number. Okay, a number doesn't exist. Cool. What if I do number here? I'm going to figure this out on the fly. If I do this twice, then it should work. No? It's still nil. Okay, cool. Let's scratch this for a moment. I'm going to figure it out for next episode. I wanted to know once and for all. I can't seem to find a lot of information on this function on the fly or right away. So let's just do some copy and pasting here, and I'm going to remove this thing from now. This thing is useless. I'm going to figure it out for next stream on the fly. It's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay, now we should be able to... This is an issue, which I overlooked. This is... we've got the 0 over there now, but... Yeah, now it looks fine, but... Yeah, this for sure looks weird with the single 0 thing. Alright, cool. I'm going to change two things here, and this is an annoying bit where I have to edit this thing in two places. Wait. Okay, let me quickly check this out. Wait, really? Does it work like that? No, it doesn't. No, not quite. Module. Why doesn't it work like that? What's the logic here? I'm not sure. This should work. It should literally work, but I'm not sure why it's having issues. Never mind, I'm just going to edit this in two places right now. Let's not worry about it too much. Anyway, what I first want to change is if minutes is smaller than 1, so if it's 0 or lower, then I want our output to not change. I want to... Actually, I can better do this. Let's put it differently. If we've got more than a minute, then I want this to be in front. And also, if seconds is smaller than 10, then I want output to be output plus an extra 0 in front before we move on here. That should do the trick. So I'm going to hit play again. I am going to chill for this. Okay, didn't work, did it? No, it didn't work because I didn't duplicate the thing, and that's not. And this is the annoying bit about having to duplicate code. It's a lot more inconvenient to keep track of. Yeah, this looks better. Now it applies the right thing. I'm going to wait for being used this 50 seconds. I have to figure out why it doesn't do what I want it to do. Okay, that would make sense. Okay. So apparently what I probably did wrong is I wrote module dot, the function name, instead of colon, the function name. That's probably what went wrong, and that's why it gave me an error. So now I know that. Let's see, by the way, if this is going to work the right way. There we go. Cool. It shows the right time now. Cool. Okay, I got it. I got it. So I'm going to need this guy again. Let's put this code in here. Go back here, then write return converter colon number 2 time number. So remember, it's colon, not dot. Thank you very much. Then write it here as well, then hit play. Okay. It doesn't work. Index nil width. Why? I don't get that. I literally... Is it dots though? Really? I highly doubt it. Oh, this is a thing, but it's probably also... Ah, yes, of course. Because I forgot to uncomment the converter here. That's why it didn't work. Silly me. Now I don't get an error, right? No? Good? We all good? Okay, thanks. Great. Awesome. Okay, we are about an hour in the stream. What I'm going to do in the next 15 minutes to round up to end this stream, I want, when someone says say lap time, I want that person to, or I want something to pop up here to tell me, hey, someone said lap time. So that's what I'm going to do. And one more thing that's worth noting, something that I won't be able to do in this stream, but I will do next stream, is that our table here is not going to be sorted. It's not going to show the fastest lap first. It's going to always show, going to put all the names in order of who joined first, or who wasn't served along. So it's going to be my name first. If a second person joins, it's going to show him below mine, and it's always going to be that case. It's not going to reverse. So please note when you use the script and before you comment, oh, it's not sorting, it's not, I haven't done that yet. It's something I am yet to do. But meanwhile, as you can see, I set a lap time here. I also sorry I missed for not responding to that. I saw a little while ago in the chat. Yes, it was the Rogues League Association. Someone called the Rogues League Association mentioning that I don't have the humanoid C check. That's a good spot because my normal timing system does have that. I don't have it here because I want to be able to set a lap time while running. So what the humanoid C check is, it's basically checking if my character is sitting, aka it is sitting in a car. And if that's not the case, then it should not count a lap. And this would be useful if you are hosting a league race and you've got an admin walking around with 300 walk speed. Should really use my should really be using my spectator instead. But yeah, I guess it's still, I guess people still do that. Anyway, let's get back here. And the last thing I want to do is I want to take the timer GUI. Let's copy and paste it in here because I want to add a quick pop-up message. Pop-up message that will tell you if not you set a lap time, but someone else sets a lap time. So let's make this 0.4. Let's make this 0. There we go. Then move it. Have it near the bottom of our screen. Minus 50. That's good. Let's make this 30. So 25 doesn't have to be that large. The frame is pretty large here because if you watched last time, I'm using a UI skill which makes everything larger, which will be very useful for people who are watching from their mobile devices right now. So make it easier for them to see as well. Let's make this Gotham semi-volt. Change it to white, then move it to the left. There's a fly in my room right now, which is teasing me. And let's move the label, leave it away from the side of the screen. Let's put it here. Let's make this length 400. And our label text by default text player has set a 0, 0, 0, 0. That would our default text be, but of course we want to change that every time someone sets a lap time. So I'm going to keep things simple. I'm going to make it a little bit quick. So what I want eventually to happen is I want the server to send a message to me to give me a heads up that someone set a new lap time. And then I want to show a pop-up which is basically going to let's do it up here, the pop-up, which is basically going to show the pop-up. That's what the pop-up does. So pop-up name and the time, lap time, which would be script.parent. Let's actually refer to it here. Local pop-up equals script.parent.popup. There we go. Let's just write like this. I don't care that much. So that would mean pop-up dot visible would be true. Pop-up dot text would become let's do a space, then name has set a, and then lap time. Do we want to manually convert? Yeah, let's do that. Let's number to time, lap time, right here. There we go. Cool. So name has set a lap time. And then after, let's say 3 seconds, I want the pop-up to disappear again. But here's one issue. If someone sets a lap time at the same time, or within 3 seconds, it's going to be a bit wonky. It's a bit hard to explain, but when that happens, what will happen is this text will change, and then within 3 seconds, this thing will turn invisible again, because the first pop-up, how hard is it to write? Pop-up time. Okay, yeah, so what I want to do is I want to add a quick check if pop up dot text equals name, and I'm going to change this a little bit. String dot sub. Actually, I can't just do that, can I? How do I check if name's still the same? Let's do something here. last pop up equals 0. So let's check when last pop up equals time. So let's keep track of when was the last time the pop up got updated. Up this pop up. Let's do it the other way around. Actually, we want to know when we updated our pop up. So this pop up time and the last pop up will be the same as this pop up. And if no one else sets a lap time, so if last pop up equals this pop up, then turn it false. And otherwise, just let it slide. Let's keep it visible for the next player if someone also sets a lap time a little bit later. And then what I want to do is I want to duplicate this bit. I want to do this through that we can also use the set lap time. We can use the same event because a remote event, if you remember from earlier, it is a tunnel between the local player, so the client, and the server. And we previously used it to communicate from the player to the server, and now we want to use it so the server can communicate to the player. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this over, can write it over here. What we can do is set uptime event dot on client event connect pop up time. There we go. And then what I want to do is when I go to the timer script, whenever someone sets a time, I want to fire all clients. So I want to send to every single player that someone set a new lap time. So I want to basically pass the message to everyone, like that, hey, this guy has set a lap time, and let's test this out right now. Actually, did I edit here everything? Yeah, so, or did I also edit stuff here? I think I only edited this script, so let's cut this one, and let's put it back here and remove the other one. So we're going to replace, so we're going to have our new GUI in here. Okay, let's jump into the test mode again. I'm going to do a lap, and after we complete the lap, I'm going to get a message down here that someone, in this case me, has set a lap time. There we go. Wesley141 has set a 11. Yeah, there we go. That's the message. You could make it a little bit longer, maybe for 5 seconds, to give the player more time to read what lap time someone set, but there we go. Wesley141 has set a 11.554. Let's extend the time a little bit. Let's make it 5 seconds. Actually, we've got the time script in here. Let's go down here. Where were we writing that previously? It's up top. Let's change it to 5. And there we go. That's going to be it for today's stream. Next stream, I am going to expand on our current system. Let me think for a second. Next stream, I want to sort the timer display we've got in workspace, and I want the timer display to also be a thing for the player. As you can see, the pop-up is going to appear for a bit longer. There we go. Let's complete another lap right now. There we go. Wesley141 has set a 11.946. And yeah, that's going to be it for this stream. I hope I'm going to upload this this model after the stream. Don't worry about that. I'm going to do it in a second. Yes, I'm going to copy this over here. I'm going to prepare the model so you guys can insert it into your own place and use it for your own enjoyment, to basically test around it. Maybe you can even find a bug if it's there, and if you find a bug, then I can address it in the next episode. So also, let me know down in the comments below what you want me to do with this time in the next episode. I can imagine some of you also would like to see a corner cut system, but probably the first thing I'm going to do next stream is I'm going to sort out the sorting system. And I want our leaderboard system to also be a GUI on our side. So, for example, when I press the Q key, I get to see the time. But yeah, that's going to be for next time. Thank you everyone for watching the stream. I will see you next week, Tuesday. Hopefully I should be able to stream then. Have a nice week, have a nice day, evening, morning, wherever you are. And, yeah.